guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my lesson for today where we will be looking at your mathematics. So ladies and gentlemen, please do allow me to say it is very much important that I say it is very much important because what I'm about to say, it's massively hey, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that I say a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. By so saying, honorable members, please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. So I realized most of you guys in grade 10, you did not do well with your test on functions. So I won't rush this chapter, but I am encouraged to try and read you the introduction to this chapter so that you guys can ask me some questions when necessary. So this is what I'm going to do. Very quickly take you through each of those. Firstly, starting with a straight line. So I'm just going to explain all that you need to know regarding a straight line. So let's say whatever that I'll be talking about is based on a straight line. So remember, guys, do not allow me to continue without you fully understanding what I will be explaining. So what is a straight line? The word itself, straight, it's self-explanatory, meaning we talk about a line which is straight. A line which is straight. It doesn't matter at what angle the line is. What matters the most is that it is a line which is straight. Most importantly, we have what we call a general formula of a straight line, which is y it's equals to mx plus c. This is the general formula of a straight line, having your m being your gradient. Gradient meaning the formula you are having change in y over change in x, which is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, guys, under a straight line, you always need two things to work out anything related to a straight line. What are those two things? It could be 2 points. So 2 points meaning 2 coordinates, or otherwise 1 point and a 1 gradient. So can you see, these are two things that you need in order to attend to any question related to a straight line. And if you remember, C, it refers to the vertical shift. So on a Cartesian plane, you have your x, you have your y. Initially, we had a straight line passing through the origin, ending in the first quadrant and the third quadrant. So we know that always when you have your straight line ending in the first and the third quadrant, it always has a positive gradient. So that means already for this line, we know that it is y is equals to positive mx. But now, this C value, it tells us more about where your straight line cuts the y-axis. Can you see in this case, it cuts it at that point being the origin. So that is why we can somewhere say plus 0 or otherwise not write it at all. But it can happen that this straight line shifts vertically upwards. Maybe let's say it passes somewhere there. So can you see it has shifted upwards maybe by 1, 2, 3 units, meaning this point, it is your C value which is no longer 0 but has a certain value which could be positive 3. That is why for this line it will be that of y is equals to positive gradient and then plus 3. If you have your line passing below the origin, you know that it's going to have a negative value, which could be -1, -2. So that means we're going to have y, positive gradient, and then negative value, which could be -2. So when it comes to a line which is now, let's say, is drawn in that direction, ending in the second and the fourth quadrant, then you know it has a negative gradient. With regards to C, it depends on the y card. So can you see there the y card is 0. So let's not write a 0 there because it's not necessary to write 0. So most importantly, now this line can shift either upwards or downwards. Let's say, for example, it has shifted downwards and this is how it looks like. So can you see it cuts the y-axis on the negative side or below the origin? That is why you're going to have y is equals to negative mx, and then you have negative value there being -1. So that means you only have two types of lines, one with a positive gradient and then one with a negative gradient. And then when it comes to this C, it depends at which you straight line cuts the y axis. So these are some of the most important things that you need to know regarding a straight line. So now, just to differentiate between these lines, that is why they are going to say, let's maybe call this one the graph of G. Maybe let's call this one the graph of F. Maybe let's call this one the graph of H. So these letters, they are just there to differentiate those lines. But what you know is that it may be G of X, but at the end of the day, it refers to y is equals to mx plus c. Also for this one, at the end of the day, it's y is equals to mx plus c. Also this one, it's y is equals to mx plus c. They just used those letters for you to easily know if they are talking about that line, or that line. So those are some of the things that you need to remember as far as a straight line is concerned. So now I'm about to summarize. But before I do that, anyone who's got a question in relation to what I've explained there? No question. Remember, in case of no question, please do mention to say no question. Okay. I had a response saying no question. So now this is what I'm therefore going to summarize to say, since the general formula is y is equals to mx plus c. So this tells us more about the slope, or otherwise you can call it the gradient. It tells us more about the gradient of the line. What is the gradient? Literally, if a line or a straight line is like that, the gradient, it is 0. It's more like you just walk nicely in that direction. But the moment you have a line similar to that, can you see now the slope or the gradient is a bit steeper compared to that line? So can you see that means you would walk and climb that mountain? So sometimes the line could be like that. Can you see? Imagine now having to walk up that hill. So that's what we are referring to when we talk about the gradient. So the gradient of this nature, it's what we call a positive gradient. But the moment it's like now you are no longer climbing a mountain, but can you see what you do from that a slope which is 0, you are now, let's say, going down. Or otherwise, you are going down at that angle or at that angle. So can you see on a Cartesian plane, it ends in that quadrant and in that quadrant. So that is why we say this is a gradient that has a negative slope or gradient. So just always remember that m refers to the gradient or the slope, and most importantly, it has a formula being a change in y over change in x, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Lichimile, have you got a question, honorable member? Remember to mute your mic in case of no question. So let's see. C tells us more about the vertical shift. So just write it there and say it tells us more about the vertical shift. So the vertical shift does not mean upward, but it means up and down. So that means a function can shift upwards or downwards. So the moment you start having a C value which is positive, that means it has shifted upwards. If you have a negative C value, it means it has shifted downwards. So just always remember those. And just to summarize on a diagram, if you have a Cartesian plane similar to that, this line and also that line, the only difference is that this one, it has a positive gradient, and this one, it has a negative gradient. And then also, let's say maybe you have that line or otherwise that line on a Cartesian plane. So this line still, it has a positive gradient, and also because it cuts the y-axis above the origin, that means it has a C, which is a positive C value. And then this one, it has a negative gradient, and because it touches the y-axis above the origin, it also has a positive C value. Maybe if we had that line, we were going to say it has a negative gradient and also it has a negative C value. So that's how you summarize a straight line. Not everything might make sense now, but I'm telling you, as time goes on and as you solve some more problems, that's when it's going to make some sense. Before I move on to the next type of a function, do you guys understand everything regarding a straight line? Or is there someone who's got a question? Sean Perry, are you okay that side, honorable member?
No question from my side, sir. I'm okay.
Okay. So now, let's maybe try to do something. I want to make sure that we don't rush this chapter because it's very much important that you fully understand the functions. You will still be doing the functions next year also when you do grade 12. And these are the basics. If you can fully understand what I'm explaining now, I'm telling you, you will never go wrong. Don't stress that much in case if it feels like not everything makes sense. So let's say you have y, it's equals to 2x plus maybe let's say 4. So normally when you are given a straight line, they are most likely to say plot or sketch that function. So most importantly, when you plot or sketch a straight line, you are mostly interested in two things, being let's say the y-intercept and also the x-intercept. And we know that at the y-intercept, that's where x is 0. At the x-intercept, that's where y is 0. It doesn't change. The moment you hear yourself saying the y-intercept, just know automatically x is 0. The moment you say x-intercept, just know automatically y is 0. So what you need to do is to then take that 0, substitute it there, and solve for the unknown being y. So that means you're going to say y is equals to where you see x, you put that 0, and then you say plus 4. Obviously, that times that is 0 plus 4. Then it means y is equals to 0. So you already have your y-intercept. So when it comes to the x-intercept, it's always a bit tricky or a bit lengthy, or you might need to apply your mind because you need to solve for x. So can you see where we see y, we put 0. Remember, the coordinates are always in this format of x and y. So now that means you're going to have 0 there, 2x plus 4, meaning you need to solve for x. You take that to the other side, it becomes -4, which is equals to that. So now you need to divide by 2 on both sides so that it cancels, and then you have your x, which is equals to -2. So that means your x-intercept is -2. So can you see you have those two things that I spoke about? You always need two things when you are dealing with a straight line. Only if you can have two things, I'm telling you, you are sorted, because now we have 2 points. Then we can plot those points. Let's see. So let's say you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. You obviously have -1, -2, which is what you're looking for. So can you see? Let's maybe try to plot that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is that point where y is 4 and then x is 0. And then this point, that's where x is -2, which is that point. So you have that point there being 4, you have this one being -2, that one there. So what you need to do is to take a ruler and then you join those 2 points. So that is your straight line, which is y is equals to 2x plus 4. So you plot when you are given an equation. Any question on that one, Bantu Bakithi? Koketso Jane, are you sure, honorable member, I'm not losing you there? Wanama Major, are you okay that side? Koketso, I couldn't get your response, honorable member. You might find that Koketso is the parent's name, but Jane, Koketso Jane, are you okay that side, honorable member? Are you sure you are not watching Scheme Sam there? What is the question, Lieslu Matungu? Is it you who's saying you've got a question?
Sir, like I don't understand.
Yes.
More y-intercept is equals to 0,4 and more x-intercept is -2,0. After that, you say 2 into 0 plus 4. How?
Let's see, 2 into 0. Are you referring to this one? Matapelo, are you referring to this one or this one? I think
Intercept.
you said 2 into 0.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Matapelo is referring to the y or the x-intercept, but I heard she mentioned something like 2 into 0. I'm assuming she's referring to this one. So remember, when you say the y-intercept, automatically x is 0 and then y is unknown. So that means where you see 0, where you see x, you're going to put in 0. So that is why I'm saying 2 into 0 there, because already I know x is 0. So where you see 0, where you see x, you put 0. Just like on this side, when you say x-intercept, automatically your y is 0. So that is why I took that 0, then substituted where I see y, and then you solve for x. Are you answered, honorable member?
And I understand.
Okay, so very quickly, let's try to see what else examiner can say. They can give you 2 points, being point A and B. Let's say point A, let's say is 2 and 2, and then point B, 2 and 2, and then let's say which other point, let's say negative 3 and let's say 4. So it's either they say plot or they say determine an equation of a straight line. In exam, it won't be given to you straight, as straightforward as it is now, but it will be interacting with some other functions. So most importantly, you just need to remember that you need 2 things. So now let's see. We know that generally an equation of a straight line is y is equals to mx plus c. So if you are given 2 points, or you are able to identify 2 points on a Cartesian plane, so what you actually need to do is to give that value of m and also determine the c value. So that means when you have 2 points, your starting point is to find the gradient. So obviously is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then you ask yourself this question. Between A and B, which one are you going to regard as your y2, which one as your y1? So I used to say between letter A and B, which one comes first? A comes first. That is why you're going to say this is your x first, and then this is your y first. That means this is going to be your x2, this is going to be your y2. So can you see? You easily substitute. What is your y2? It's 4, you minus. What is your y1? It is 2 over. What is your x2? Put it inside the brackets, minus what is that? Is 2. So very much important that when you substitute, you put a value which has a negative inside the brackets. So what is that minus that? I think that is 2 over. What is that? That gives you a negative 5. So that means your gradient for that function is negative 2 over 5. So that means you have calculated your gradient being negative 2 over 5. So now you need to get that C value. That is why you're going to say you choose a point. Between these 2 points, which one will be easy to choose and use it to calculate the C value? Which point do you guys think will be suitable for us to use to calculate that C value? Would you choose point A or point B? Okay,
Let's
so
try A, sir.
this is how you choose, honorable member. You are correct. You use point A, you can still use point B. You are still going to get the correct answer. But I like using a point that doesn't have negatives. If it has a negative, let's say you have this one having 2 negatives, this one having 1 negative. Take the one with a few or no negatives, because you won't easily make a mistake. And you see, you take that 2, you put it where you see y. You say negative 2 over 5, you put 2 where you see x, because there x is 2 and then y is 2. Listen very carefully. Even if you use this value, you are still going to get the correct answer. Or let's say even if you use this point being point B. So can you see now? You have 2, which is, what is that times that? I think that is 4. So it's more like you are having that. Then you take this to the other side, it becomes 2 plus 4 over 5 is equals to C. Then you punch this on your calculator. What are you getting there? What is 2 plus what is 2 plus 4 over 5?
5.
5.
5.
Is it everyone who's getting 5? Guys, is it everyone who's getting 5 when you punch that? No response. Matapelo, are you sure it gives 5? Is it not 4?
It's 14 over 5.
14 over 5. Is it everyone who's getting 14 over 5? It sounds correct. So now that means the equation is y
So
is
I got
equals
14 over
to
5 or 2,8.
negative 2 over 5x plus 14 over 5. So when you give an equation, you give it as a fraction and not as a decimal. So that means this is the equation of a straight line having those 2 points. Maybe for you guys to be able to visualize that on a Cartesian plane, we can try to plot, let's say, this point where you have 1, 2, 1, 2. This is that point where you are having x being 2 and then y being 2, being point A. And then let's try to plot that point. That's where you are having a, let me do this. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So can you see you are having 4 there, and then you have a negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So that means the other point is that one there being point B. So can you see when you join those 2 lines, they give you a straight line. So can you guys see this straight line? We said it has a negative gradient because it ends in the second and the fourth quadrant. And also, can you see it cuts your y-axis somewhere there. So I'm not sure if it makes sense, guys, or is there someone who's got a question? Am I losing some of you guys on that one? Koketsu Jane is quiet. I'm not sure. Koketsu, are you sure you're okay that side? Remember to unmute your mic if you want to confirm. The thing is, if you are not responsive, I won't be able to know if I'm losing you, honorable member. Koketsu, all right, Gamo.
So how many marks would this equation be in a test?
So normally they would give you, say, 3 marks, a maximum of 3 marks. It's never 1, it can't be more than 3, so you're looking at 2 or 3. But most importantly, it won't just be given to you as 2 points. It will somehow be given to you on a Cartesian plane, which could be both a straight line and a parabola. And then from there, somehow examiner can try to be tricky and say what is the equation of a straight line. So you might need to check if you are able to see 2 things. If you are not able to see those, you won't be able to determine an equation of a straight line. Okay, so let's try to quickly move on to the next type of a function, which is what we call a parabola. If you remember, a parabola has got that shape or that shape. And also, when it comes to a parabola, it can be given a name of g of x or a f of x or even h of x. It doesn't matter. They can still use a k of x for Koketso. But what you need to know is that whatever the letter that examiner used, it simply means y is equals to whatever. So now the general formula of a parabola is y is equals to let's say ax squared plus q. This is for you guys in grade 10. So that means you need to be able to differentiate between a straight line equation or formula and a parabola. A straight line, it's y, which is equals to mx plus c. But can you see, the power for that x is that invisible 1. But for this one, you are having y, it's equals to ax squared and then plus q. So this q and c, it refers to the same thing, vertical shift. If I like, I can still remove that and use letter c there. I can still remove that and use letter c there. It doesn't really matter that much. It simply refers to the vertical shift. So this one, it was referring to the gradient of a straight line. So the a value in this case refers to the shape of your function. So you can have a function which is smiling or sad. So if you have a positive a value, that means you have a positive mood. Obviously, you'll be smiling if you are having a positive mood. So I'm sure you guys, you're seeing me drawing this so many times. So now, can you see? You've got honorable member smiling there. Why is the honorable member smiling? It's because the A value is positive. But if you have a negative mood, obviously you're going to be sad. So that is why you are going to have a function of that nature. And this is how you notice that our honorable member is not happy there. So now the C value, again, it refers to the vertical shift. So let me maybe try to do something of this nature and say, let's say on a Cartesian plane, having the y and the x axis. A said shape can be drawn like that, making a U-turn at the origin. So that means the general equation of this one is going to be y is equals to, what we know, it's going to be a negative a value x squared, and then we can just say plus 0 because it hasn't shifted anyways, making a U-turn at the origin. Another smiling shape is this one. So that means for this one, it's going to be y is equals to positive a value x squared plus 0. So because it is just 0, we can just remove it and leave it as it is. So that means the moment you see ax squared, it's a parabola. Whatever negative value x squared is a parabola. So what happens is this parabola shifts vertically, so either up or down, either up or down. So that is why sometimes you are going to have something looking like this, where you have that type of a function. Maybe let me put it to you in a form of a question to say, are we having a smiling or a sad shape? And how do you see if it's a smiling or a sad shape?
Down is a sad shape. When it's facing up, it's a smile face.
It's a sad shape because of that shape, 100%. So another question, this sad shape, has it shifted upwards or downwards? And why?
So
That's because
Has it shifted upwards or downwards? And how do you know?
shifted upwards, so because this time it is above the x-axis.
100%. So you can easily say it's because the turning point is above the origin. That's how you can easily explain to say the turning point of that is above the origin. So that means generally we know we are going to have y is equals to a negative a value and then positive c value. I hope you guys are able to notice that. So I think in addition to what I've just explained, let me also include something very much important to say. There's what we call axis of symmetry or line of symmetry. What did I say about that? So if you remember, I used to say if you've got a slice of bread, how can you cut it into two equal halves so that yourself and your sibling will never fight? That's if you cut it vertically there, right in the middle. So this line that cuts this slice of bread into two equal halves is what we call an axis of symmetry or a line of symmetry. So how do we know a line of symmetry, or how do we see a line of symmetry on a parabola? So let's say we are having that. We are having that. Line of symmetry, it's always at the turning point. Doesn't matter whether it is a sad shape. Line of symmetry, it is there. So let me remove this and redraw all of that without a Cartesian plane. So can you guys see? This is the turning point. So that's where you are having that line of symmetry, because this side of the function, it's 100% equals to that. That means this line, it cuts it into two equal halves. Similarly, if you are having that at the turning point, that's where you have your line of symmetry, which means that side is equals to that side. So you might need to learn a little bit more about that in your grade 11. But for now, just be aware that you've got what we call a line of symmetry. Let's maybe try to see if we can do something. Let's say we are having this. It's a hand drawing. It might not be accurate. So let's say we are having x and y there. Let's say maybe that point it is 4. And let's say here we are having -2, and 2. This is what you are given, and they say maybe determine an equation of that parabola. Obviously, it's a said shape. How are we going to work out that one, Bantu Bagiti? Anyone who's got an idea of how we are going to work out that one? Any
So I
idea?
think since
Or
the shape is a set shape, sir, and I
sure, honorable member was disconnected there. I couldn't get everything.
I think since it is
Short point.
set shape, sir, the A value will be a 4.
A very nice try. Okay, maybe let's try to do that interpretation again. So, you see, this 4, Sean Peary, it's by how much this set shape has shifted. So on a Cartesian plane, it was making a U-turn at the origin, but now it has shifted by how many units upwards? By 4 units upward. So that means already this one, it tells you more about your C value. Can you see there, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, sir, I can see.
Yes. So also, if you had a smiling shape making a U-turn, let's say it was making a U-turn there. So you just need to know what that value is. If that value is -6, then it means it's already your C a value. So maybe let me try to work out something. I'll just let you know if this falls under you stand. Let me quickly do these. I'm just trying to think of something. Mm, okay, let's say we are having x minus 2x plus 2. I'm actually trying to derive something, honorable members. I'll let you know what that is. Minus 2, 0, plus 2, that. And then if this is 4, what is that times that? That times that, I think we end up having negative 4a, and then our a ends up being negative 1. Okay, so let's say this is what we are now having. Negative invisible 1, x minus 2, x plus 2, and then we have the being x squared, the minus 2x plus 2x, and that one minus 4, and then you end up having minus that, and then that, and that, and then that. Okay, I think this is what also applies to you guys. I will need you guys to listen very carefully, because if you can understand this process, you won't struggle in many cases. I get this is what we initially had. It's -2 and 2. on our Cartesian plane. Okay, I'm about to ask you guys a question. Those 2 points, -2 and 2, what do we call those points? And that one being point 4, what do we call that point? Anyone who's got an idea of what are these 2 points, -2 and 2, and what is that point called being 4? Just give it a guess. It doesn't matter whether it's wrong or correct. I'm telling you guys, it's encouraging when you participate and give your response. Doesn't matter whether it's wrong or correct. That's how we learn. The moment you start being shy of not giving the wrong answers, the moment you start being shy of not participating, it's going to be a problem when you get to a varsity Bantu Bakit, because there no one is going to feel sorry for you. No one is going to be trying to encourage you to participate. There won't be your parent to encourage you to participate. So it's going to be a disaster if you don't get used to participating on online lessons similar to this. And it gets worse where you manage to pass and you are now at the workplace. Remember, guys, whatever that we are doing here is to prepare you to the workplace. You don't want a situation where you've studied engineering, you are an engineer, and now you can't address the community, you can't address your colleagues, you can't put your points on the table. Just make sure that with confidence, whatever that it is in your mind, you just share with us. It's never your fault if you do not know or if you do not understand something. It's what you know. But the moment you don't give yourself to get it wrong, you don't try to learn it, then it becomes your fault. So anyone who'd like to respond to my question of this point of -2 and that point of 2, what do we
Could
call
they be the
those points?
coordinates, sir?
That one. Come again, honorable member.
It's an extreme point.
Sure. I couldn't clearly hear that, but if you were saying these 2 points are what we call the x-intercepts, those are what we call those 2 points. The x-intercept. What does the word intercept means? It simply means the x card. It's more like these 2 points. This is where that function cuts the x-axis. Or is the x-touch in simple terms. These 2 points is where your function, let's call it the function of f. That's where your function of f cuts the x-axis. What about this point? What do we call that point? What do we call this point?
Steps.
I'm not sure if honorable member said this is the y intercept, but if that's what you said, you are 100% correct. It's what we call the y intercept. So guys, what I'll be writing, try to write it down, because I think we will in today's lesson leave it there and there, and I'll give you guys something to work it out from your side. So let's see. To determine an equation of that straight line, this is the formula that you use. Not a straight line, but a parabola. It's y is equals to a into, they say, x minus x1, you close, x minus x2, you close. Under a parabola, you might actually need 3 points. 3 points. Unlike when it comes to a straight line where you only need 2 things. Let's say here we need 3 things, namely the 3 points. And the procedure is such that you actually need to find the A value. Let me maybe show you how you substitute. You firstly start with your x-intercepts. That's how you substitute. So that means you have y, which is equals to your a into x minus. What is our first x value? You can choose that one of a negative. Inside the brackets, -2. And then now you say x minus. This one is +2. No need to put it inside the brackets. Do we have another point that we can use to substitute to that same formula? Remember, this is point number 1, point number 2. Do we have another point?
4.
Hmm?
4. No,
Yes,
sir.
but hey, Matabelo, uyangihlanganisa manje. Do we have a point? Yebo noma cha?
Could
Okay,
4 be
so
substituted into y, sir?
yeah, so this is a point that you have. So it's more like the points that you are having. You have this point of -2 and 0. You also have this point of 2 and 0. You also have this point of 0 and 4. So this is point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. That is why I said you need 3 points. So we have substituted this point, that point. Now let's substitute this point. So can you see where y is, what is it? Where we see y, we substitute 4. Remember, we're trying to actually get a. Where we see x, we put 0. We still have this times that, it makes it to be positive. And then where we see that x, we put 0 there, minus that. So notice something. This is x1, this is x2. It refers to the x-intercepts. And then this one, this is the one that you get from that y cut. So now, can you see? You have a 4, which is equals to what is it? A into, this thing is the same as 2, and this one is the same as -2. So it's more like you have 4, which is equals to a, that times that, it's actually -4. So you can just divide by -4 on both sides. So that cancels that, meaning your a is equals to, what is that divided by that? It's -1. So can you now see, you've got your a value there, you also have your c value being that. So you can easily say y, it's equals to negative invisible 1 x squared. What is your c value? There it's your c value being 4. Then you are done. That's how you determine an equation of a parabola. Does it make sense, guys? Or is there someone who's got a question there?
Sir.
I'm not confident. Let me do this. Sean, are you sure you don't have a question there? Matapelo, I couldn't hear you. Did you say you don't have a question there?
I'm fine. I understand.
Liyahluma tungu. You don't have a question there, honorable member?
No, sir.
Koketso?
So I have a question.
No question. Sure. I'm worried. Koketso has never said anything, but it's fine. Sean Perry, go on, honorable member.
So like say in an exam, will they give us like a question that you just gave us there, whereby they give us the points and then we just have to solve it, or is there another way the examiner could ask the question?
Okay, so it's in most cases where examiner tries to be tricky. I will just remove all of that. Sometimes they might give you something of that nature. Let me try to do this. Let me try to derive a question. So they would normally give you two functions. Say this is the graph of G and then this is a F. Let's say maybe a examiner can say you are given two functions where one is G of X, which is equals to 2X, let's say, plus 2. And then from there, what else can examiner say? And they are going to say, maybe let's say, let me think of something very, very quickly. And then maybe they say, this is 1. And then now they say a point A there. No, this one being point B, this one being point A, and then that one there being what? Let's say this is the graph of F. Yes, F of X, it's equals to, they just say AX squared plus C or Q. And then maybe they say this is 3. Yeah. This is what they would give Lechumile and ask you a question to say, determine the point of the coordinates of point A. Do you have an idea of how can you determine the coordinates of point A? Anyone who would like to give it a try?
We should use the G at X more is more G at X is equals to 2X plus 2. After that, we should solve for X.
Yes, honorable member is 100% correct. But wait, what are the coordinates of A? What do we know at point A?
One.
Can you say that again, honorable member? What do we know about point A? Matapelo. Matapelo is gone. Lichumile, Liyahluma, Sean Perry, what do we know about point A? Or what is point A called?
So is it the intercept?
What intercept?
Steps.
So point A is the x-intercept. And the moment you start saying x-intercept, it automatically means
The
y itself.
x-intercept.
Yes. So that means that point A, is it on the graph of G, or is it on the graph of F, or is it on both?
On G.
Is it on G, is it on F, or is it on both?
G because of
Point.
the straight line.
Okay, this is what happens, Matabelo. It's not only on a straight line, it's also on that parabola. Can you see? So you don't say it's only on G, but it's on both F and G. So point B, is it on G, or is it on F, or is it on both?
It also looks like it's on both.
Yes, 100%, it's on both. So you need to be able to notice whether a point is on a certain function or is on both. Okay, let's say this one of 3 there. Let's say it's point D. Is point D on G, F, or both?
Only an F.
Yes, only on F. So now let's continue with our question where we calculate the coordinates of A. So we already know that y is 0. So that means, are you going to use equation of G, or are you going to use equation of F? Which equation are you going to use to calculate point A, the coordinates of point A?
G.
Why G and not F?
Because of
Okay,
we need to solve.
okay. The reason is you can't use F because you don't know what the A value is and you don't know what the C value is. Or you can say it's because F is incomplete, but you can use G to solve for X. You can't use this one because you have too many unknowns. So that is why you're going to say y is equals to 2x plus 2. And then where you see y, you put 0 there. That means this is what you take that to the other side. It becomes that. And then you divide by 2 on both sides. That cancels. Then your x is equals to -1. Meaning the coordinates of point A, you are having -1 and 0. And obviously this point, that's why you're having a, 1 and 0. So literally, can you see, after that question of saying calculate the coordinates of that, maybe they give you, let's say, 3 marks. The next question they say determine an equation of F, and this one maybe they give it 4 marks. Do you think you can be able to determine the equation of F? Can someone just explain how would you work out that one? Remember, in case of no idea, so say
Sir,
no
I am
idea.
not sure, sir, but I think the 3 G.
Honorable
I'm
member
not sure,
muted
sir,
his
but I
mic.
think the C on the top graph would be substituted.
Okay, so uh, This one I'm going to give it to you as your homework. You will work it out tomorrow around the time at which we started this lesson. So you do it the same way we did that one. Let me just give you guys a hint. You do it using this formula. You use this one when you determine an equation of a parabola, x2 there. Then you're going to need 3 points. You obviously have point A. Let me not say point A, but you have this point, you have this point, which are the x-intercepts. You also have that point. So can you see, you have that point being -1 and 0. You also have that one being 1 and 0. And then lastly, you have that one being 0 and 3. So can you see, you just do exactly what I did to determine that. So tomorrow around that same time where you guys started today's lesson, you will then work out that one the same way I've showed you guys. So I'm not sure. Anyone who's got a question before I wrap up my lesson for today? So what you can do very quickly, just take a screenshot of this so that you know what you'll be doing as your homework tomorrow around 6. You can just quickly work it out and then send it to me via inbox. I will then check it. You send it to where you submit your maths tests. So guys, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. My name is Desmond and I'm out. But I think what is it? The code for today. Let's say X coordinate. Sean, you say X coordinate. Leah Kluma say Y coordinate. Lechumile say Cartesian plane. So those are your codes. Did you guys get your codes? Matapello, you say as your code, you can just say functions. Did you guys get your codes?
Code is Cartesian.
I get it.
Okay, 100%. So just make sure to comment with those codes as soon as the lesson is done so that we know you have attended. So guys, a very good night and I'm out.